Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Casey on Tap. Today is Friday, October the 25th of the year 2024. Very special day. You start fishing, every once in a while you pull in a marlin. Ladies and gentlemen, congratulations, because we have a marlin today. Frank Piscitelli, attorney at law. First of all, Frank, you look great. How you doing over there? Say hello to the people. Welcome to Casey on Tap Nation.
Glad to be here. Thanks for having me. Just happy to be here and spend a little time with you.
Let's talk about lawyer jokes. You know, what is it? Like a bus full of attorneys drives off a cliff. What is that? A good start? Everybody talks shit about attorneys and lawyers until what, Frank? Until they need one. You and I are very good friends, but you're also my attorney. And listen, folks, you can make all the jokes you want until you need a good attorney. And you are looking at an exceptional attorney, if I may. Just read a couple of bullet points. Okay, I don't want to bore you. I'm going to let this man speak his knowledge into the world. But first of all, he looks very young. He has been an attorney for 30 years, almost as long as I've been born. Like 30, I'm like 32. Okay? His focus is on serious injury and wrongful death cases. Represents people, not insurance companies or large corporations. And I can attest to that. This man is all about the people. And as you folks know, 6 countries, Frank, 86 cities, 6 countries, they know that Casey on Tap is all about the people, baby. We're all about the people. Yep. So Frank, that was just a little bullet point of your resume, but seriously, give us your background.
Well, I am born and bred in the greater Cleveland area. Started out at Kent State, finished up at Cleveland State, went to law school at Cleveland State, Marshall College of Law. Been practicing here in Northeast Ohio for 30 years. We've handled cases throughout the entire state of Ohio and throughout the country. So it's been an interesting 30 years. It's been a good ride, but the work continues. There's more work to be done. Like you said, I focus on personal injury, serious injury cases, and wrongful death cases. We've handled some other types of cases as well. But that's the primary focus.
You know, I always find whenever you're in time of need, like I would go to you because I trust you. Like you're an awesome dude. But for people that don't know you, regardless of what it is specifically you need help with, it's always good to have someone who is an attorney. It doesn't matter what their specific avenue would be, but like being able to call you or in their lives, like calling anybody to say, hey, this is what I'm looking at. Yeah. A good attorney will guide them to the right place.
Yeah, absolutely. I have people call me for all kinds of legal related issues. If I can't handle the case, I will refer them to a top lawyer in that area if I know one. And if I don't know one or a lawyer in that area, then I'll tell them. I think what's most important is you got to be upfront. You got to be straight with people. You can't BS them. You got to always, tell them when you're not qualified, and get them to the right attorney if you can do that. And if you are qualified, and it's a case that you handle, you got to spend some time with them, and get them comfortable. Make sure you're both comfortable because it's a two-way street. It's usually a long relationship. These cases don't resolve right away. It's right. Months and sometimes years. And so there's got to be a comfort level on both sides.
Colin Cowherd, who is one of the most famous talking heads out there in terms of sports radio, one of the things he used to say, I'd listen to him driving when he was with ESPN, and how he connected with his audience and he rose so quickly is he would relate sports to everyday life, and he would say, make no mistake, when you get on an airplane, there is a best pilot in the world and there is a worst pilot in the world. There's the best doctor, worst doctor, and there are the best attorneys and there are bad attorneys. As you know, I've been in situations where you feel helpless. You don't know where to go. Would you say that you're on, when people walk in or call your phone, you'd say, hey, I take pride in, I'm going to be absolutely as honest and forthright and passionate and purposeful for that person as I can be.
Sports, early life lessons. When I was a kid, it was drilled in my head. One of the things I'll never forget is do it right or don't do it at all. So I pride myself on working as hard as possible for the client to get the best possible result. no shortcuts. And I think, that's important. And the other side, the insurance companies, which is usually who I'm going up against, they know the pretenders, and they know when they're up against the real deal.
That's interesting.
And now taking it to sports, I think sports is invaluable in teaching lifelong lessons, work ethic, perseverance, determination. And I remember high school football. Did you play high school football?
Sure did.
Remember in a cold, rainy day
Uh-huh.
on a Tuesday at 4:00, how miserable you were at practice?
I do.
And you had to show up, though. You had to show up and you had to work hard. Even though in that particular instance, you may not have really wanted to. The conditions weren't right. The conditions weren't perfect. But when you become an adult in the real world and in the legal profession, especially when you're fighting up against insurance companies, things happen all the time. It's never perfect. There's no such thing as a perfect case. And so when the conditions aren't right, you got two choices, right? You can roll up your sleeves, work harder, or you can look for a shortcut or take the easy route.
Yep.
But that's not the way I was brought up. That's not the way I operate. And,
No, it's not.
There,
And I know
there
that
are
from
a lot of
personal
good
experience.
attorneys. There's a lot of great attorneys in Northeast Ohio, especially in what I do. I have a lot of respect. Our legal profession in Northeast Ohio for personal injury and wrongful death cases, there are many, many, many really good attorneys, and I've learned from a lot of them.
And it's not taken away. Just like when I'm teaching class at Title Boxing Club and I'm complimenting the people in the room, I'm not insulting anybody else out there.
Right.
There might be great. But I'm putting a spotlight on someone who I personally know, and my voice, my platform, people listening to me, they understand that I'm telling them when you need one, you're looking at one who I would personally vouch for to my dying day. So let's transition into sports, Frank, because you are a lifelong. You're one of the few. You're one of the few Cleveland Browns fans that I can actually tolerate having a conversation with, my friend. Okay, you're one of the few. I want to talk about Deshaun Watson, and I've had a significant problem, as a lot of people should, with Deshaun Watson, with the things that he's done and been accused of, and has settled out of court with. So the fact that they gave him a king's ransom to come here. Just speak on your thoughts as a lifelong Cleveland fan and a high-level, intelligent human being. What are your thoughts on what's going on right now with the Cleveland Browns?
The Browns in general, it's taken a long time to get here. I'm old enough to vividly remember the drive, the fumble,
I watched the drive on a 24-hour loop in my house.
Oh, God. The shot that Michael Jordan made, the Indians losing in the bottom of the ninth in the World Series, only to come back and lose in the 10th inning in Game 7.
Yep. To the Marlins, right? Was that to the Marlins?
The first one, yeah. And then the Cubs, in 2000?
Oh, and then the Cubs, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so folks, you're listening to and looking at this is a Cleveland sports fan right here. Yep.
Oh, undoubtedly. It's very difficult to be a Browns fan. Grew up hating the Steelers. My dad still does. But I've had conversations with my dad where I tell him, look, you can't blame people in Northeast Ohio for loving the Steelers.
No.
One of the best run organizations in all of sports. I think in my lifetime, since I can remember, they've had 3 head coaches.
That's right.
Chuck Noll, Bill Cowher, and
Mike Tomlin.
And that's it.
Yep. We've
had runs where we probably have had 3 coaches in 3 or 4 years.
I just saw Freddie Kitchens the other day. I was at a pulp getting an acai bowl. Freddie Kitchens he was serving it up.
Yeah. So as an organization, I know Freddie Kitchens. Come on, man.
What the hell?
That's another hire that makes you scratch your head.
Yeah.
But nothing is a head scratcher like signing Deshaun Watson to that amount of guaranteed money.
That's right.
With the controversy that was surrounding him.
Yep.
And the fact that I think when they signed him, he was out of football for 18 months or so.
That's correct.
And you go and you give him nearly $250 million guaranteed. It has to be the worst contract in sports history. I would challenge anybody to come up with one worse than that. I don't think it's possible.
I can't believe they brought the guy in with what he was going through at the time. I mean, to your point, you talk about the Steelers. There are certain teams that have cultures. They have identities. The Pittsburgh Steelers never would have brought Deshaun Watson in. Not ever. Talk to me about the state of the Browns organization. In my opinion, and it's way above my pay grade. Frank, don't they have to cut him? Don't they have to start? Look, what are you going to do? He's not. He wasn't that. He's the worst quarterback in football before the injury. He's clearly declined.
I will say this. The offensive line this year has been decimated. I think they had at one point a third string center in there who also got hurt, and they had to move a guard to that position, if my memory's right. It was so troubling to me. Well, two things. It was first eye-opening to see how well Joe Flacco did. Okay,
and I can't believe they let him go.
And what was so refreshing though about Flacco is the ability to stretch the field.
Yep,
throw
absolutely.
The ball down the field instead of this dink and dunk crap that we got to watch. But the ability to stretch the defense because he can make that throw down the seams or down the side.
Hell, I can't stand the Browns, and I loved watching him.
And then to not re-sign him again. I don't know why they didn't. I have a theory. Maybe it was because they didn't want Deshaun looking over his shoulder. But isn't that what makes players great? Is competition, and it makes everybody better. Yeah. As far as I'm concerned. So you let Flacco walk away. You bring in who's Jameis
Winston. Yep.
Winston.
Yep.
Who hasn't really.
He's a great locker room guy. Winston's a great locker room guy. Great backup.
But I don't care. I want a guy who could throw the ball down the field, who has a cannon, who can stretch the defense.
We don't know if Winston can throw the ball because he hasn't gotten a chance.
They're just gonna with somebody who can't throw the ball down the field, they're just gonna crowd up, and then all you got is your running game and your dink and dunks with a beat up offensive line. You have no chance. No chance.
You talk about competition, healthy competition, and you're right with Joe Flacco. You hear a lot of these. I listen to a lot of these high level NFL insiders. They're not Cleveland homers. They're high level reporters. And they. It's interesting. This last week, I heard one of them say, what most fans don't understand is when they gave him that contract and when they gave up the draft picks, they made Deshaun Watson the second most powerful man in the building.
Yeah.
Right below the owner, not the GM and Stefanski are below him. There's no way Kevin Stefanski isn't saying we have to play a different quarterback. But the problem is that owner, whether it's Flacco or Winston, he wants to save face and go, I'm not going to have a $290 million backup. But if I was a Browns fan, it would infuriate. You got to cut your losses.
It's unwatchable. Honestly, I haven't come close to watching a full game this year. I just can't watch it. I mean, I can't. I mean, I have. It's unbearable. No, and especially if the weather's nice outside. I'd rather go do something outside, go on a hike or whatever.
If you're in the war room, they've got to be playing chess.
Well,
it's either we're going to let him heal and come back and play again. Or is it we have got to cut bait?
I don't know a couple things. First of all, whether or not they got insurance on him having a season-ending injury. I think in some sports they have that. I've heard of it. Secondly, I don't know if there's a buyout option or something. But if there is,
Frank, the buyout is every penny of that contract.
Right, that's crazy. It was fairly negotiated, and a contract is a contract.
I got it. But if I was him, I've got a conscience. I'd be like, here, take $30 million back for the kids. Something give it to Salvation Army. I mean, I'm just telling you. Let's move on to a much more uplifting topic. The Ohio State football Buckeyes coming off the bye week. Huh?
Is it uplifting after that heartbreaking loss?
Yeah, I think it's uplifting. I do. Did you know I was out there at the game?
Oh, no. I didn't know that.
I was there with my dad and my brother. I was in that stadium. There's no way to describe the environment in that stadium. It was the most, I can get chills talking about it. It was awesome.
Electrifying?
It was electrifying. It was deafening. It was so different. Okay. And my dad told me on the way out there that this Dan Hanning, the coach of Oregon, who was an assistant at Georgia a few years ago, he went out there. He said he was offered the Alabama job when Nick Saban retired first and he turned it down. I said, whoa. So I didn't know that. My dad's a booster at Ohio State. He has
Yeah.
some inside knowledge. I said, he came from Georgia and he's an SEC guy. I said just really struck me. Like, wow. And then I went to this game and I told my dad, first thing I said was, and my brother Brandon was with me. I said, now I get it. Frank, you watch and see what's going on out there.
Oh,
If I was a recruit out there, I would have signed. So what I'm saying is, no, like they have Illinois, who's ranked, by the way, this week. Illinois is ranked like 20th in the country. Illinois is going to Oregon. They're a 21-point favorite. Wow. Ohio State, it was a pick'em game, and you watch the game. Ohio State did not play anywhere near their best game. Made a lot of mistakes. Comes down to a 1-point football game.
Yeah, I think they're pretty closely matched. My takeaway from that game, more than anything, was that our defensive backs in particular, were exposed.
Tough game.
I'm sure they had a good game plan. Certainly looked like it. And that quarterback was better than
Dylan Gabriel.
Yeah,
Ooh.
yeah. Some of those long passes. I watched a 15-minute highlight reel earlier today just to refresh my memory, and plus I wanted to go back and because you and I were talking about the one defensive back and what his number was, and it was number 10.
Number 10.
Name. And
what was his name?
Burke is his last name.
That's the one. He had a rough go.
Yeah, and he's a highly touted, high projected first round pick.
Yep.
Wow, he had a bad game. They had a good game plan for us.
Ohio State fans have become over time very entitled. They just are. Ohio State fans, when we lose, just the negativity and all the things, the coach sucks, quarterback sucks, this guy sucks. It's never, hey man, we're lined up. Those kids are lined up against kids of equal talent and speed. And they're going one-on-one every play. And sometimes they make plays and sometimes we make plays.
Yeah.
And that Oregon football team, I sat there, we watched the warm-ups, my brother Brandon and I. And after they warmed up, we sat there, we were there early. And they went in, and Brandon looked at me and said, are you a little more concerned than you were pregame? I said, yeah, I'm a lot more concerned. Frank, they were all business, baby.
You can see the talent, huh? During
Frank,
the warm-ups.
60 minutes, and not one football touched the turf.
Yeah.
I'm talking about it looked like a freaking machine. It was and I'm not saying Ohio State didn't. Ohio State was on the other side. This Oregon, I was watching the Oregon, this Dylan Gabriel, he must have thrown 100 passes. Not only were these passes like a machine, like they were putting the pass, the spirals. It was like watching a robot.
Yeah.
I just knew they were locked in. So,
I've been watching and rewatching some of the clips. He was incredibly accurate.
Accurate. Yep.
Field, and he with great touch. Sometimes he just lofting the ball in. His receivers were able to catch it in stride. Yep. Which is huge. I heard Tom Brady talk about that one time, how even if he made a completed pass, he would be mad at himself if he didn't hit the receiver in stride because by doing that, as we all know, you can get a lot of extra yardage. And Gabriel hit these guys in stride.
In stride, man.
It was.
Yep. Hey, you remember like the old Steve Young or like or Mark Brunell? That Gabriel's a lefty. He throws that pretty tight left. Remember how Steve Young threw it just has a different, like the spiral looks. I don't know what it is, but boy, Dylan Gabriel.
He throws a pretty ball. Now, the other takeaway I have, and I'll admit, I like Ryan Day.
Yeah.
I'm troubled by. I have a hard time being a staunch Buckeye fan. Correct me if I'm wrong, but he lost against Michigan 3 times in a row, right?
Yeah. No.
I mean, most coaches don't survive that. So
no. Ryan Day gets heat. His record is incredible. It is. The problem is he's got 4 or 5 losses. They're all against top 5 teams.
Yeah.
And again, Buckeye fans don't like to admit this, because to the victor go the spoils, and we've had the spoils for quite almost 2 decades against Michigan.
Right.
Whatever you want to talk about, Condor Stallions and the cheating scandal, whatever. Okay.
Yeah, you're look, Ryan
on the field. Those last 2 Michigan teams, the teams that beat Ryan Day's, see, Ohio State fans have a hard time admitting this. They beat us. I mean, they came in, they punched us to the mouth. Harbaugh had those. He had the cult. Look at Michigan now. Look at Michigan now. Harbaugh's gone, and they are.
Well, that's what I was about to say. To me, look, Jim Harbaugh, I know a lot of people can't stand him. He's proven to be a great football coach.
And that's why a lot of people can't stand him. They can't stand him because he doesn't give
San Francisco team to the Super Bowl, don't forget.
Yeah, Stanford. Right? He was the only team that beat that USC team in their heyday.
Right.
Frank, people can't stand, most people that you and I talk to are Ohio State fans, so it's all that jealousy. This man, hey, bro, if I had a football, if I could pick one coach, as a matter of fact, I'm going to tell you one of my worst nightmares was when everyone knew he was leaving Michigan. Oh, my God, Jim Harbaugh coming to Cleveland.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Right. As if someone who doesn't like Cleveland, I knew that you'd have Super Bowl titles coming very soon.
Oh,
I'm just saying Jim Harbaugh is he's a great football coach, and he knows how to build culture. Your team is a bunch of morons. They didn't get Harbaugh. Don't worry about it. You're not going to get any Super Bowls anytime soon. Had Harbaugh come here. Do you think Deshaun Watson would have been here if Jim Harbaugh was here? No. Hell no.
Here's the thing, though, that I want to tie in the Ryan Day segue that I went on, because
sure.
The other thing that was, to me, very frustrating with the Oregon game was what I view as clock mismanagement by Ryan Day and the quarterback there at the end. And it's really Day's the one in charge of that. But they to me, if it was
talking about the last play of the game.
No, not the last play of the game, but just leading up to it too. They let some time tick off, and
Well, you saw what happened, right? With how the coach of Oregon did that on purpose, and then the NCAA changed the rule. You saw that, right? The 4 seconds.
No, I didn't.
Oh yeah. So it comes out Monday morning. It comes out that Dan Hanning and the boys said we put that 12th guy out there on purpose because we knew the rule. They wouldn't get those 4 seconds back, and sure as shit, it was a 5-yard penalty. The clock went from 10. Now, how often does the NCAA change a rule overnight? Look it up. They changed the rule because those 4 seconds, just common sense tells you, should be put back on the clock. But they took advantage of the rule. He threw a 12th guy out there. So then we only had 6 seconds for that final play. And he went down 1/8 of a second too late before the timeout in the kick. I mean, that's how.
Leading up to that play where there was the 12th man on the field, I thought they could have done a better job at managing the clock.
Well, the offensive pass interference was egregious.
Right, but
that's what took us out of field goal range.
Right.
Here's the deal: we have Nebraska coming up, then Penn State at Penn State. Now listen, we play Indiana too. Now Indiana's no joke now. All of a sudden, Indiana's undefeated, and they are not to be toyed with. But if Ohio State, they're clearly one of the top 2 or 3 teams talent-wise, we take care of business. You know who we meet up with in Indianapolis for the Big Ten titles, Oregon.
Yeah.
So we'll see what that looks like on a neutral field with more Buckeye fans there than Oregon. I just have a feeling it's going to be a little bit different. What do you think?
I think, look, it was a pretty evenly matched game. Both offenses had a good day. Both defenses had some breakdowns. I think it's a toss-up.
My opinion is Georgia, Texas, Notre Dame, you name them. Nobody wins that night in the environment that I was sitting in. Nobody beats Oregon that night. And every other team loses by at least a touchdown. I mean, Ohio State should have won that game. We lost by 1 point.
Right.
So, Frank, before we go, if you don't mind, I got 3 mailbag questions for you.
All right, let's have them.
And then we'll get you out there fighting for the people. What do you say?
Let's do it.
Okay, you good? You good so far? Okay. Question number 1 from Chris in Cleveland. I was in a car accident. Wasn't my fault. The other person's insurance company wants to interview me about what happened and my injuries. They want me to sign a bunch of things to get my medical records. They're telling me they'll pay me something. What should I do? That's a good question from Chris in Cleveland.
So what I always tell people, Chris, is when insurance companies talk to you about what happened in your injuries, almost inevitably they're recording that phone call. And depending on where you are time-wise after the crash, you may not remember all the details. You may have remembered something that wasn't quite right. It's really not to your benefit to talk to the opposing insurance company.
Right.
The conversation is recorded. And when it comes to your injuries, they'll always want to know, well, how are you feeling? You might be feeling better that day and then go to bed, wake up the next morning and feeling a lot worse. That happens often, especially within 24 hours, 48 hours of the crash. At first, you might not feel so sore. You wake up the next day, you're sore, you're injured. And as far as signing documents, what they want you to sign are medical authorizations. And what they're doing when they send that document to you, it is broad. It is it includes all your records and things that aren't relevant. And whenever you bring a case, especially once you file a lawsuit, you waive your physician-patient privilege. And insurance companies like to throw that around, but you only waive it for injuries. So if you hurt your neck and you've had previous neck treatment, you waive it for that.
Oh, wow.
You don't waive it if you sprained your ankle or if you had some type of surgery that isn't related to the body part. But when they send you those authorizations to sign, they want to get your entire medical record. Now, why is that? Because they want to look for things to pick apart and to try to lower the value of your claim. And a lot of these first line adjusters, they'll just argue anything to try to get the value of your claim down. So,
Frank, have you seen people? I'm sure you've seen it many times. I mean, Chris, like people probably have really put themselves in a bad spot by signing things, doing these things prior to seeing an attorney. Like, have you gone in and had a client and they've already, and you're like, oh man.
Yeah. So what I do immediately, once I'm retained, we immediately send an email or fax to the insurance carrier. And if our client has signed authorizations, we tell them that authorization is revoked. And then we will gather the appropriate records and present them once the client is done treating. That's the other thing. When they call you early, they're trying to get you to settle, but you don't know the full extent of your injuries and how much treatment you're going to need. So if you settle early and quick, you could be leaving a lot of money on the table, and money you rightfully deserve. It's a different case if you go for 3 chiropractic treatments versus you're going to a bunch of treatments and then you have an MRI and you got a bulging disc.
Right.
Whole different ballgame.
All right, Chris, hopefully that helps you out. Question number 2 from Stephanie in Dayton, Ohio. I was in a car accident. The other driver had no insurance. That would suck. I don't know how I'm going to fix my car or pay my medical bills. Yeah. What happened? Yeah, Frank, what the hell's out? What happens if that would really suck?
There's a significant percentage of the population driving around with either no insurance or the state minimum insurance, which Ohio was in one of 3 states for a long time where the minimum insurance was $15,000. Now they've upped it to $25,000.
Jesus,
but that's not very much.
It doesn't. Yeah, right? Not for a catastrophic accident. No.
Yeah, or even a medium type of accident with moderate injuries. That $25,000 is gone like that.
Yeah.
So this is what I tell everybody: the most important insurance, in my opinion, that you can get is called uninsured, underinsured motorist insurance. And so that's in your policy. You probably have liability, which if you injure somebody, you run a stop sign, you hit somebody, you got your liability insurance. You probably have collision insurance. You might have medical payments or med pay. You want to get med pay because oftentimes when you go to the hospital, you're going to have a copay or a deductible that you'll have to come out of pocket for. Well, you can tap your own car insurance med pay to pay that. Or you might have a balance on your bill because your insurance maybe only covers 80%. But most importantly is uninsured, underinsured motorist coverage. Okay, so if somebody hits you and they don't have insurance, they're uninsured, you can go against your own policy for that benefit. Underinsured motorist coverage kicks in a case where somebody has $25,000 state minimum, but let's say you're catastrophically injured and you've got $100,000 in underinsured motorist coverage. Well, then you can tap into that benefit. So, you should really review your policy. And this is
that would suck if you got an accident and someone didn't have insurance. That's a good idea there. So,
well, listen, I mean, I've got in this year alone, I can't tell you how many cases where the person that I represent was seriously injured, and the other driver who was at fault either had just $25,000 or $50,000. I'm just handling a motorcycle death case. That would be a multi-million-dollar case. The other driver only has $50,000. The motorcycle rider who was killed had no underinsured motorist coverage.
That's great insight because I didn't know that existed. So that is great insight.
Most people don't know about it.
Honestly, golly. Oh man, that's good. That's good stuff right there. Last question, Frank. We'll get you out of here. This is another good question. This is from Tina from Mayfield Heights. Okay. there are so many attorneys, billboards, buses, etc., benches. It's hard to understand. How do I know how to choose the right attorney? Great question.
Yeah, that's a great question. And we talked a little bit about this earlier.
Yep.
You want to have a comfort level with your attorney because your attorney and you are going to spend some time together. There will be long periods of time during the case where you might be treating and your attorney has got everything done up to that point and is just waiting for you to get done with treatment. But you want to have a certain comfort level with your attorney. So first, what I would look for is experience, especially and somebody who focuses their practice in this area of the law. There are many, many, many lawyers in Northeast Ohio, and some of them are more of a general practice. I'm not saying that they're not good at personal injury or wrongful death cases, but me personally, if I was choosing an attorney for my family and somebody had a catastrophic injury or we lost a loved one, I would want somebody who focuses in this area of law and then has a significant track record and experience, and somebody who you're very comfortable with, who will take the time to listen to you, and who will prepare your case from day one as if going to trial, and not counting on a settlement, because that's ultimately how you will get the best result. And so you got to have a lawyer that tries cases, that isn't afraid to go into the courtroom, because again, the insurance companies know which lawyers that they can take to a certain limit, make a certain offer, and they're going to cave and take it. And then they know the lawyers that are going to say, no, I'll see you at trial.
There you go, Frank. What do you think? How was your experience today? Your first experience on the KC on Tap platform. What'd you think?
Great. It was awesome. Yeah, we covered a lot of stuff, and it was fun.
Frank, quickly, prediction on the Buckeyes against Nebraska this week. Prediction against the Browns against the Ravens this week. Go.
I think the Buckeyes are going to win and win big, and Ravens by 14.
All right, Frank, thanks for your time today, my friend, and we appreciate you being on. See you next time, okay?
All right, Casey.
Ladies and gentlemen, special treat tonight. The show is not complete without a guest appearance and a guest picker, my dear friend Ed Conley, coming to us live from Euclid, Ohio.
Yeah, that's right, Case. Right now, we got Menor up 44-12 here, getting ready to kick off in the second half. Menor looks like they're going to put a bow on this 10-0 regular season. Get ready for the playoffs.
Whoa. Did you say 44-12 at halftime?
That is correct, 44-12 at the half.
All right, come on, man. Playoff run starts next week.
Looks like week one's probably going to start off with Ignatius.
Oh, really? Where do you see Mentor playing St. Ed's?
It would be either regional semi or regional finals, depending on how the seeding ends up.
We need Ed Conley. We need Captain Cardinal. We need your 3 college football picks and your 3 NFL picks for the weekend.
All right, for my 3 college picks, I got Kansas State minus 9.5 against Kansas. I like Florida State and Miami. I like the over. I know it's a lot of points, but 54.5. Florida State hasn't played defense all year, but I'm taking the over on that game at 54.5. And then Missouri's better than people are giving them credit for. 16.5 is a lot of points at Bama. So give me the Tigers in that one.
Okay.
Moving on to the NFL, we got the Packers minus 3.5 at Jacksonville. Got the Bears minus 2.5 against the Commanders.
Okay.
And I think the Jets are ready to pull off a W, but the Jets and the Patriots under 41.5. Neither one of those offenses are moving the ball very well, and both underrated defensively. So
I love it. And for the people out there, I'm coming off a 3-3 week. My college picks this week are the Lane Train, Ole Miss, minus 19.5 against Oklahoma, whatever the hell's going on there. I have the Hoosiers of Indiana, minus the 6.5 at home against Washington. And I have Sparty. I went against Sparty last week. I've got Michigan State plus 4.5 against the defending national champion, Michigan Wolverines. Is that what this team is? I don't think so. And in the National Football League, I have the Jets minus 7 against New England. I've got the Chiefs minus 9.5 against the Raiders. And so help me God, I know San Francisco They own Dallas. I know Dallas is going to lose this game. I know they are. But if they can't man up and keep this game close with all the injuries San Francisco has, I'm disavowing this team. Give me the Cowboys off the bye week plus a 3.5, Edward. That's where we're going, buddy.
I like it. Solid pick, Case.
Thanks for checking in live from Euclid Stadium. Edward, Casey on CoT Nation appreciates it very much. Stay warm out there, buddy.
Absolutely. Hey, I got to go. Kyle McCord just threw another pick six.
All right, brother. Take care.
All right. We'll talk to you later, Case.
You got it, Ed. Thanks.
Bye.
All right, everybody. Until next week. Remember, this is Casey on Tap, where anything goes. Take care.